Welcome to the episode 34 summary of the Reading Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast, where we analyze Finnegans Wake by James Joyce, 3 pages at a time. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment to support us. Okay, today we are diving into a true literary monster, a book so legendarily difficult it's practically its own genre, James Joyce's final work, Finnegans Wake. Seriously, most people who pick this thing up are lost before they even finish the first page.
And you know what? Joyce was totally in on the joke. He even has the text describe itself as a pulling sampled jungle of woods, which, if you untangle that classic Joyce wordplay, is a pure and simple jumble of words. It just feels dense, confusing, and almost like he didn't want you to get it.
But maybe we've been looking at it all wrong. What if, instead of trying to read it like a normal book, we investigated it like a literary crime scene? Let's put on our detective hats, look for clues, follow the leads, and see if we can solve the mystery at the heart of it all.
All right, before we start our investigation, we need to get the lay of the land. We need to understand the rules of this world we're stepping into. And trust me, it's not our reality. It's the reality of a dream. The book straight up tells us that we're in a place where anything that's possible feels completely improbable, but anything that feels improbable is absolutely guaranteed to happen. You know, it's like dream logic. The connections are bizarre, events make no sense, but while you're in the dream, it all feels strangely inevitable, right?
To pull this off, Joyce basically takes a classic rule of storytelling and flips it completely on its head. The philosopher Aristotle, way back when, said that good stories should use probable impossibilities. Think of like a talking lion in a fable. It's impossible, sure, but we buy into it for the story. Well, Joyce gives us the exact opposite. Improbable possibles. These are things that could technically happen in the real world, but they're so weird and unlikely they just feel unbelievable. And those are the rules of our crime scene.
So, how does this actually work? Well, every great detective story needs a starting point. That moment a crucial piece of evidence gets discovered. And for us, that discovery happens in a very, very strange place.
So just picture it. It's the dead of winter, it's freezing, it's bleak, the whole world feels cold and completely still.
And on this particular day, we meet our detective. And no, she's not some hard-boiled private eye or a brilliant Scotland Yard sleuth. She's a hen. Her name is Belinda, and she's just doing what hens do, scratching around for something to eat on a midden heap, which is basically just a fancy word for a trash pile, a dunghill.
And right there, buried in all the garbage and waste, Belinda's scratching turns up something amazing. It's a piece of paper. It's a letter, and it came all the way from Boston, Massachusetts. This document, literally pulled from the trash by a chicken, is the central clue for our entire investigation.
Okay, evidence secured. Now it's time for some analysis. The letter is torn, it's fragmented, it's caked in who knows what. Let's get this thing back to the lab and see what we can figure out from what's left.
So, we put the pieces up on the evidence board and a few things stand out. Dear Maggie. Okay, so it's a personal letter. We see bits about wedding cakes, a funeral for a poor Father Michael. It seems to close with fondest to the twins, or twins, and it's signed off with 4 cross kisses and a postscript. It's a total mess, but you can just about see the shape of a real letter in there.
Now, when scholars painstakingly put all the readable bits together, this is what they get. It's this incredible stream of consciousness jumble of everyday life, right? The milk went bad, there were elections, thank yous for wedding presents, a funeral. It's somehow both making sense and completely chaotic at the same time, just like a half-remembered dream.
But here's the thing. In this investigation, what the letter says is only half the story. The physical object itself, the stained, damaged piece of paper, is packed with just as many clues as the words written on it. It's time to get forensic.
This means we have to stop thinking like we're reading a book and start acting like forensic analysts. What does the physical evidence tell us? What kind of marks were left on this artifact?
At the very, very end of the letter, after the P.S., there's a mark, a stain, and the text describes it with just 3 letters, T-C-H. Ch. What in the world could that possibly mean? And this, right here, is where you see the absolute genius of Joyce's method. Tash isn't just a random sound. The French word for a stain or a spot is tache. The Russian word for tea is chai. You put them together, and tash becomes this incredible multilingual pun that tells us exactly what the mark is. It's a tea stain.
The clue and its solution are hidden inside the exact same word. It's brilliant!
Okay, so we've got a tea stain. Case closed on that. But that still doesn't explain why the words themselves are so jumbled and, well, distorted. To figure that out, the book gives us a surprisingly scientific metaphor.
So, the text tells us to think about the letter like an old-school photographic negative. When a negative is developed correctly, you get a clear, perfect image. But what if it were to get too hot and melt while it was drying? The image would turn into this grotesquely distorted macromass. Well, the letter was buried in that midden heap, and as things decomposed that generate heat, it was basically slow-cooked in the trash, distorting the ink and the words, just like a melted negative.
And if that wasn't enough, there's one more layer here. To make things even more confusing, the text suggests it might be a crossed letter. This was a real thing people did in the 19th century to save paper and postage. You'd write your whole letter horizontally, then you'd turn the page 90 degrees and write more lines vertically, right on top of the first ones. I mean, can you imagine trying to read that? The words aren't just distorted, they're literally written on top of each other. So, let's recap. We've analyzed the words, and we've analyzed the forensics. We know how the clue was found and how it got so damaged. So what's the verdict, detective? What's the final solution to this whole mystery?
Well, if you're feeling a little lost right now, you are not alone. The book totally gets it. It even asks us directly, you is feeling like you is lost in the bush, boy. It knows it has led us deep into that jungle of woods, that jumble of words.
And this is the grand reveal of our investigation. The whole point isn't to find one simple answer. The solution is the investigation itself. It's that sequentiality of improbable possibles, that whole chain of bizarre but connected clues we just followed. The meaning isn't what the letter says, but the entire web of history and language and decay that it represents.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Our entire investigation, all the crazy wordplay, the history, the forensics, all of it came from a single piece of paper pulled out of a dunghill. We end where we began, staring into a pile of trash that somehow holds the entire history of human communication swirling inside it.
And so the book leaves us with this one final, really profound question. After sifting through all this mess, all this linguistic garbage, all this beautiful, complex, decayed evidence, where in the waste is the wisdom? And that's the mystery Joyce leaves for us to solve.